What if the most profound story ever told about humanity isn't found in ancient texts or sacred scriptures, but hidden within our very own genetic code? What if the slow, meandering river of evolution, a journey spanning billions of years, took an inexplicable detour, an abrupt, impossible leap that defies all conventional understanding? Consider the fossil record, a scattered library of our past etched in stone. For millions of years, our hominid ancestors evolved at a glacial pace, incremental changes mirroring the slow grind of natural selection. Then, an anomaly. Around 2 million years ago, a biological singularity, an explosion of cognitive capacity that saw brain size triple in an evolutionary blink. This wasn't just growth, it was a sudden, unprecedented surge in intelligence that catapulted a species from tool users to dreamers, from foragers to philosophers. This astonishing acceleration, this missing rung in the ladder of natural progression, poses a direct challenge to the very foundation of orthodox evolutionary theory. It suggests that the official narrative of our ascent to intelligence might be incomplete, perhaps even profoundly mistaken. Because if such a rapid, complex transformation wasn't solely the product of terrestrial forces, if the spark of our unique intellect was not entirely our own making, then our understanding of humanity, its origins, and its ultimate destiny is shattered and redefined. What if the very trajectory of our species was not accidental, but meticulously charted, our genetic blueprint subtly yet profoundly altered long before we ever gazed upon the stars? In this documentary, we will embark on an intellectual odyssey, examining the scientific enigmas, the genetic puzzles, and the ancient whispers that hint at a radical truth. Like and subscribe if you're ready to question everything you thought you knew about your own story. Prepare yourselves. We begin. The tapestry of life, meticulously woven by natural selection over eons, typically reveals itself in delicate incremental threads. Species evolve through countless micro-adaptations, each a tiny advantage building upon the last, like grains of sand accumulating to form a dune. This gradual progression, this patient unfolding of biological forms, is the bedrock of Darwinian evolution, a principle deeply etched into our understanding of the living world. Yet, when we turn the lens to our own lineage, the narrative becomes jarring, fractured by inexplicable discontinuities that challenge this very foundation. Our journey begins in the vast ancient epochs of hominid development, a sprawling saga that stretches back millions of years. Scientists have painstakingly pieced together fragments of bone and stone, sketching a rough outline of our ancestors, from the tree-dwelling primates to the bipedal Australopithecines, and then to the early members of our own genus, Homo. Each discovery, from Lucy to Turkana Boy, adds a precious page to this epic, revealing a slow, arduous climb. But as we approach the threshold of true human intelligence, the expected continuous narrative gives way to a perplexing silence, an unseen chasm where the most critical steps should be. Orthodox evolutionary theory posits a smooth, unbroken chain of transitional forms, each linking ancestor to descendant with logical adaptive modifications. We expect to find the clear, sequential intermediates that bridge the gap from a primarily instinct-driven ape to a creature capable of abstract thought, complex language, and intricate tool-making. Instead, what we uncover are profound, almost sudden leaps, the shift from Homo erectus, with its modest brain and rudimentary tools, to the anatomically modern Homo sapiens, with its sophisticated cognition, art, and symbolic culture, appears less like a gentle ascent and more like an abrupt, gravity-defying surge. Consider the sheer scale of the transformation. Our brain size, for instance, nearly tripled from approximately 400 cubic centimeters in early hominids like Australopithecus to roughly 1400 cubic centimeters in modern humans, a trajectory unparalleled in the animal kingdom. While other species exhibit brain growth, none show such an explosive, non-linear acceleration within such a compressed geological time frame. This rapid encephalization, this sudden swelling of grey matter, implies an equally swift, complex rewiring of neural pathways, the development of entirely new cortical regions devoted to language, planning, and self-awareness. The fossil record, however, offers tantalizing but frustratingly sparse evidence of the intermediate stages that should painstakingly illustrate this profound neurological restructuring. The periods most crucial to this cognitive explosion, roughly spanning from 2 million to a few 100,000 years ago, are paradoxically marked by some of the most frustrating missing links. While we find scattered remains of various Homo species, the definitive sequential transitional forms that unequivocally demonstrate a gradual step-by-step acquisition of modern human intelligence often elude us. It's as if entire chapters of a vital cosmic autobiography have been torn out, leaving us with a compelling plot but no clear explanation for how the protagonists gained their most defining abilities. Some scientists attempt to explain these rapid changes through the theory of punctuated equilibrium, a model proposed by Niles Eldredge and Stephen Jay Gould. This theory suggests that evolution often occurs in relatively sudden bursts, interspersed with long periods of stasis rather than a slow, continuous crawl. While this offers a plausible mechanism for accelerated speciation events, it still struggles to account for the sheer magnitude and direction of the human cognitive leap. It explains how evolution might proceed in jumps, but not why. Only one species on Earth experienced such a dramatic, irreversible, and profoundly specific surge towards self-awareness and complex abstract thought. The qualitative difference between early Homo and Homo sapiens isn't just about a slight morphological variation, it's a fundamental shift in the very nature of existence. The chasm is not merely in the fossil bones, but in the cognitive leap itself. How did our ancestors so swiftly develop the capacity for symbolic thought, abstract reasoning, and the intricate syntax of language? These are not simple traits. They are emergent properties of highly complex neural architecture. The conventional view suggests that environmental pressures, such as changing climates or new dietary requirements, drove these changes, yet countless other species face similar pressures without evolving comparable intellectual prowess. Why us? Why then? The standard evolutionary narrative often struggles to articulate the specific selective pressures potent enough to forge such a unique and rapid cognitive ascent, almost as if an external catalyst were required to bridge these evolutionary chasms. This brings us to the profound implications for the official theory of evolution. If Darwinian principles, primarily driven by random mutation and natural selection, are the sole architects of life on Earth, then the human story presents an uncomfortable anomaly. The speed, the direction, and the sheer intellectual jump in our lineage appear, to some observers, almost too perfect, too convenient to be entirely coincidental. It's a pattern break in the cosmic tapestry, a thread woven with startling suddenness into an otherwise gradual design. The missing links in our cognitive evolution are not just gaps in our knowledge, they are silent questions etched into the very fabric of our being, hinting that our genesis might be more complex and perhaps more extraordinary than we ever dared to imagine. The fossil record, though invaluable, is inherently incomplete. It offers snapshots, not a continuous film, but even within these snapshots, the sudden appearance of traits like precision gripping for tool use, the development of an erect posture, and critically, the explosion in brain size within a few 100,000 years stands out. These are not minor tweaks. They are foundational re-engineering efforts. To assume pure random mutation and natural selection could achieve this with such efficiency, in the face of what appears to be a sudden and massive restructuring, strains the bounds of what the terrestrial evolutionary timeline typically allows. It begs the question, what external force or guiding hand might have provided the necessary impetus, the missing ingredient to bridge this unyielding chasm in our evolutionary past? The answer, as we shall see, might lie far beyond Earth itself. The scale of this missing evolutionary narrative is truly immense. Imagine trying to explain the sudden, dramatic shift from a horse-drawn carriage to a rocket ship in a single generation, without any intermediate steps like automobiles or airplanes. That is, in essence, the challenge posed by the human cognitive leap. The raw materials for intelligence were certainly present in our primate ancestors, but the assembly of these components into a uniquely human consciousness seems to have occurred with an efficiency and speed that continues to baffle those committed solely to an undirected, purely naturalistic progression. This unseen chasm, this void in the expected smooth curve of evolutionary development, forces us to consider whether our story has a chapter, or perhaps an entire volume, that we have yet to discover, a chapter written by hands not of this world. Following the unseen chasm in the fossil record, we arrive at an even more startling anomaly, the cognitive leap. This wasn't merely a step, it was an evolutionary sprint, a sudden, unprecedented acceleration in brain development and intellectual capacity that fundamentally reshaped our species. Standard models of evolution typically depict progress as a slow, patient accumulation of advantageous traits, each offering a marginal survival benefit. Yet, the human story, at a critical juncture, defies this expected gentle gradient, instead presenting a dizzying upward trajectory. For millions of years, our hominid ancestors exhibited a steady, if unspectacular, increase in cranial capacity. Australopithecus afarensis, for instance, possessed a brain size of roughly 380 to 450 cubic centimetres, comparable to that of a modern chimpanzee. Over the span of nearly 3 million years, this expanded to about 600–750 cubic centimetres in Homo habilis, and then to around 800–1200 cubic centimetres in Homo erectus. While significant, these were still relatively gradual changes, consistent with the slow grinding pace of natural selection working on environmental pressures. But then, a profound shift occurred. Around 2 million years ago, leading up to the emergence of archaic Homo sapiens and eventually anatomically modern humans, the rate of encephalization, the increase in brain size relative to body size, exploded. Within a span of less than 1 million years, and in some interpretations as little as a few 100,000 years, the human brain nearly doubled in volume, reaching its modern average of approximately 1,300–1,400 cubic centimetres. This astonishing rate of growth, a threefold increase from our earliest bipedal ancestors, is unparalleled in the history of life on Earth. It is a biological singularity, a cognitive supernova, whose intensity and rapidity continue to baffle evolutionary biologists. To fully grasp the scale of this unnatural acceleration, consider the evolutionary history of other complex brains. The intricate neural networks of a dolphin or an elephant developed over tens of millions of years, refined by a multitude of selective pressures. Yet, humanity's defining organ, the seat of our consciousness, language, and abstract thought, appears to have been forged in an evolutionary crucible that operated at an almost impossibly fast pace. It's as if a blueprint for a vastly more complex machine was suddenly introduced into a slowly iterating biological program, pushing development into hyperdrive. This wasn't just more brain, it was different brain, capable of entirely new dimensions of thought. This rapid expansion wasn't without immense biological costs and risks, creating what some scientists call the obstetrical dilemma and the metabolic paradox. A larger brain necessitated a larger skull, which made childbirth agonizingly difficult and perilous for early human mothers, often leading to death for both mother and child. Natural selection, typically ruthless in weeding out disadvantageous traits, should have strongly opposed such a rapid expansion if the benefits weren't immediate and overwhelming. Furthermore, brain tissue is metabolically expensive, consuming around 20% of our body's energy intake despite making up only 2% of our body weight. Why would evolution gamble so heavily on such a demanding organ so quickly? When resources in the primitive world were scarce and survival a daily struggle, the sheer energy cost of maintaining such a complex brain, coupled with the profound birthing risks, presents a powerful counterargument against a purely gradual, undirected evolutionary path. The cognitive implications of this explosive growth are equally profound. This era saw the emergence of increasingly sophisticated tool technologies, moving beyond simple Alderman choppers to the finely crafted Acheulean hand axes of Homo erectus, and later the diverse specialized toolkits of Homo sapiens. But more than tools, this period marks the dawning of symbolic thought, the ability to conceive of concepts beyond immediate sensory experience. We see the first evidence of deliberate burial rituals, suggesting an awareness of mortality and perhaps an early form of spirituality. We find intricate cave paintings, abstract carvings, and personal adornments that speak to a burgeoning aesthetic sense and the capacity for self-representation. These aren't merely practical adaptations, They are expressions of a mind operating on an entirely different plane of existence. The appearance of these complex cultural behaviours, often thousands of years after the initial surge in brain size, suggests a fully formed cognitive capacity waiting to be utilised, rather than a slow co-evolution of mind and culture. It's akin to finding a supercomputer suddenly appearing in a tribal village, with its inhabitants slowly discovering its immense capabilities over generations. This temporal disconnect further underscores the challenge to conventional evolutionary explanations, which would expect a more tightly integrated incremental development between cognitive capacity and its behavioural manifestations. The why behind the brain's rapid expansion becomes inseparable from the how of our cognitive abilities, pushing us to question if an external hand provided the catalyst, perhaps even the initial instructions for this remarkable leap. The sheer statistical improbability of such a rapid, complex and energetically demanding transformation, occurring purely by chance, within such a narrow time frame, is a central pillar of the Paleocontact Theory. It suggests that if the official evolutionary narrative is to remain the sole explanation, it must account for this unnatural acceleration, with more than just a convenient appeal to unknown selective pressures. The narrative demands a clearer, more direct answer to the question: what force, what mechanism, could have orchestrated such a precise and rapid genetic remodeling, pushing our ancestors onto an intellectual fast-track unlike any other species? This dramatic divergence from the expected evolutionary pace points towards a guiding influence, a deliberate intervention that jump-started humanity's intellectual dawn. This cognitive leap, therefore, is not just a fascinating chapter in our history. It is a profound challenge to our understanding of life itself. It begs us to consider possibilities beyond the conventional, to look beyond terrestrial explanations for the origins of our most defining trait, intelligence. The accelerated ascent of the human mind, this sudden explosion of consciousness, remains one of the greatest mysteries in science, a glaring anomaly that may very well be the smoking gun for a story far more intricate and cosmic than we have ever dared to tell ourselves. It sets the stage for a deeper dive into the very fabric of our being, our DNA, where the whispers of this intervention might still reside, awaiting decipherment. If the fossil record presents an unexplained chasm, and our cognitive leap and unnatural acceleration, then the intricate double helix of our DNA holds the most intimate secrets of our origins. It is here, within the very blueprint of life, that some theorists propose we might find the most compelling evidence of an alien hand in our creation. Our genome, a vast library of some 3 billion base pairs, is undeniably similar to that of our closest primate relatives, the chimpanzees, sharing approximately 98.8% of our genetic material. Yet, it is within that seemingly small 1.2% difference that the profound uniqueness of humanity resides, a difference that, upon closer inspection, reveals astonishing complexities and potential anomalies. The official narrative of evolution attributes these genetic divergences to millions of years of random mutations, acted upon by natural selection, gradually accumulating into the distinct traits that define Homo sapiens. However, the Paleocontact Theory posits that certain crucial elements within this genetic differentiation might be too complex, too sudden, and too specifically directed to be explained solely by undirected evolutionary processes. It suggests a targeted intervention, a precise genetic engineering event that accelerated key developments. One of the most intensely studied areas of genetic difference lies in the genes responsible for brain development and cognitive function. For instance, the FOXP2 gene, often dubbed the language gene, is remarkably similar across many species, but humans possess a unique variant that is strongly associated with our capacity for complex speech and language. While other primates have a functional FOXP2 gene, the human version contains 2 specific amino acid changes that are believed to have occurred relatively recently in our evolutionary history, around 200,000 years ago. The question isn't just that these changes occurred, but how such a complex integrated system for language could have emerged so rapidly, involving not just this gene but a cascade of other genetic and neurological developments, without leaving clearer, more gradualistic transitional forms in the genetic record. The sudden emergence of this highly specific variant, conferring such a profound advantage, seems almost too fortunate, too efficient. Beyond specific genes, entire regions of our genome, known as human accelerated regions or HARs, show significant differences when compared to chimpanzees and other mammals. These HARs are segments of DNA that have remained largely unchanged across millions of years of vertebrate evolution, but show a burst of rapid mutation and divergence in the human lineage. JAR1, for example, is a region critical for brain development, particularly for the formation of the cerebral cortex, the seat of higher-order thinking. The rapid changes observed in Han are not just isolated incidents. They represent a fundamental re-engineering of the genetic instructions that guide the construction of our most complex organ. The question arises, what force could have driven such an intense localized burst of beneficial mutations in such critical regions, all converging to create the uniquely human brain? Another intriguing area of investigation concerns the presence of junk DNA, or non-coding DNA, which makes up a vast majority of our genome. While much of it was once dismissed as evolutionary leftover, scientists are now discovering that many of these non-coding regions play crucial regulatory roles, controlling gene expression and influencing complex traits. Paleocontact theorists sometimes point to these vast enigmatic regions as potential repositories of alien code or dormant programming, remnants of an engineered blueprint that our current science is only beginning to unravel. Could some of the highly conserved yet non-coding elements be markers, or even instructions, left by an intelligence that understood genetics far beyond our current capabilities? The sheer amount of non-coding DNA, combined with its increasingly recognized importance, opens the door to possibilities beyond random mutation. Furthermore, the existence of so-called orphan genes, genes found only in humans and with no apparent homologs in other species, presents another layer of genetic mystery. While some can be explained by de novo creation, new genes arising from non-coding DNA, their sudden appearance and integration into complex biological systems without clear evolutionary precursors can be viewed as another anomaly. If these genes contribute to uniquely human traits, their abrupt arrival on the genomic scene might be interpreted as a signature of external design rather than a spontaneous terrestrial innovation. It poses a direct challenge to the notion of continuous, traceable genetic ancestry for all our traits. The mitochondrial Eve and Y-chromosomal Adam theories, which trace all human maternal and paternal lineages back to single individuals in Africa respectively, also contribute to the enigma. While these findings align with the out-of-Africa theory, the narrow genetic bottlenecks they represent, combined with the rapid cognitive expansion, are sometimes interpreted as points where a targeted genetic modification could have been introduced into a small founding population, then propagated. Rather than a slow, diffuse process, this suggests a precise intervention point within our deep ancestry, a moment where the seed of engineered intelligence was planted. The very structure and organization of the human genome, with its complex regulatory networks and tightly integrated gene pathways, often appears to be a masterpiece of engineering. The notion that such a finely tuned, highly optimized system could have arisen solely through incremental, undirected mutations and selection, particularly within the rapid time frame of our cognitive leap, strikes some as statistically improbable. It's like a complex machine appearing fully functional, rather than being built part by part over vast spans of time. The sheer elegance and efficiency of certain human genetic mechanisms invite questions of design, or at least a guiding influence that streamlined the evolutionary process. In essence, the argument is not that evolution is entirely false, but that it is incomplete. It's a powerful and undeniable force, but one that might have been occasionally nudged, accelerated, or even directly modified at critical junctures in our history. The genetic anomaly within our DNA, the startling differences in key cognitive genes, and the overall improbable acceleration of our brain's development represent the potential fingerprints of an intelligence far beyond our own, leaving its signature embedded deep within the very fabric of who we are. These are the whispers in the code, the silent proofs that humanity's story may be far more engineered than evolved. The implications are staggering. Our essence, our intelligence, our very humanity could be the legacy of an alien benefactor. Beyond the silent testimony of our bones and the coded language of our DNA, another intriguing thread in the paleocontact narrative emerges from the most unexpected places. The depths of archaeological sites, the cryptic patterns of ancient constructions, and the startling knowledge attributed to cultures long past. These are the ancient wonders, often dismissed as anomalies or explained away by conventional theories, yet they persistently hint at technologies and wisdom far beyond the capabilities attributed to their presumed creators. They form a body of evidentiary exhibits that, for some, speak of an external guiding hand, a forgotten interaction with a power not of this earth. Consider the perplexing phenomenon of out-of-place artifacts, or OOPArts, as they are controversially known. These are objects discovered in archaeological context that seem technologically or artistically anachronistic for the period in which they were found. While many can be debunked or recontextualized, a stubborn few resist easy explanation. For example, the Antikythera mechanism, a complex astronomical calculator recovered from a Roman-era shipwreck, dates back to the 2nd century BCE. Its intricate gearing and differential systems were so sophisticated that nothing comparable would reappear in human engineering for over 1,000 years. How did ancient Greek artisans, without the benefit of a continuous mechanical tradition, create such a marvel? Was it an isolated flash of genius, or was its design based on a knowledge base far more advanced than currently acknowledged? To paleocontact theorists, such an object suggests either a forgotten, highly advanced human civilization or, more provocatively, a technology derived from an external source. Then there are the colossal and precise ancient constructions that dot our planet, monumental feats of engineering that continue to defy simple explanation. Take the pyramids of Giza. Their sheer scale and mathematical precision, aligned with cardinal points and astronomical phenomena, are astonishing. The massive blocks, some weighing many tons, are cut and fitted with such accuracy that a razor blade cannot be inserted between them. Mainstream archaeology explains this through ingenious human labour, ramps, and levers. Yet, the logistical challenges, especially the precise quarrying, transport, and placement of thousands of such stones with primitive tools, remain staggering, and the precise astronomical alignments, often matching stellar constellations that would not be visible in their current positions for many thousands of years due to axial precession, suggest an ancient knowledge of celestial mechanics that seems remarkably advanced for the time. Move to the ancient city of Pumapunku in Bolivia, part of the larger Tiahuanaco site, where massive, intricately shaped blocks of diorite and granite, some weighing over 100 tons, are found. These stones are cut with such perfect right angles, flat surfaces, and even intricate interlocking notches that they appear to have been machined with modern-day precision tools. Diorite, one of the hardest stones on Earth, is incredibly difficult to work even with today's technology. How did a culture without metal tools, let alone advanced cutting and drilling equipment, achieve such a level of craftsmanship? The precision suggests a technology of cutting, shaping, and possibly even softening stone that is completely absent from the archaeological record of the period. For proponents of paleocontact, these megalithic puzzles are not just architectural wonders, they are signatures of a technology that must have been either gifted or directly applied by non-human intelligence. The Nazca lines in Peru are another compelling exhibit. These immense geoglyphs, etched into the desert floor, depict animals, geometric shapes, and abstract designs. Some stretching for miles, they are best viewed from high altitudes, a perspective impossible for the ancient Nazca people with their limited technology. While archaeologists explain their creation as a careful process of scaling up smaller drawings, the sheer effort and planning required for such enormous precise figures, invisible from ground level, raise questions. What was their purpose if not to be seen from above? Could they have served as markers, signals, or even landing strips for aerial visitors, perhaps the very sky gods recounted in local legends? Beyond physical artifacts and constructions, ancient texts and oral traditions across disparate cultures speak of advanced knowledge seemingly imparted by divine or extraterrestrial beings. The Sumerians, for example, credited their sudden leap in civilization, including the invention of writing, irrigation, complex mathematics, and astronomy, to beings they called the Anunnaki, who descended from the heavens. Their detailed astronomical knowledge, including an awareness of planets like Uranus and Neptune long before their telescopic discovery, or the intricate orbital mechanics described in texts like the Enuma Elish, seems to predate any known terrestrial observational capabilities. How did a nascent civilization acquire such precise cosmic understanding without external aid? The Dogon tribe of Mali, isolated from modern civilization for centuries, possesses an astonishingly accurate knowledge of the Sirius star system, including details about Sirius B, its white dwarf companion, and even Sirius C, a theoretical third star in the system. They claim this knowledge was given to them by beings called the Nommo, who came from the Sirius system itself. This astronomical understanding, far exceeding what is visible to the naked eye or achievable with primitive tools, presents a profound challenge to conventional anthropology. To many, it's an evidentiary exhibit that cannot be easily dismissed as coincidence or pure indigenous observation. These ancient wonders, these technological and intellectual anomalies, are often explained by mainstream science as products of lost knowledge, ingenious solutions to engineering problems, or the cumulative wisdom of generations. And while human ingenuity is undeniably vast, the persistent pattern of objects and knowledge appearing before their time, with no clear developmental precursors, continues to fuel the Paleocontact hypothesis. They are the cracks in the official narrative, the moments where human history seems to accelerate or skip ahead, hinting at a hidden chapter where the boundaries between Earth and cosmos blurred, and an external intelligence might have provided the necessary spark, the advanced tools, or the crucial knowledge that propelled humanity forward. They force us to question whether the true story of our species is not just one of internal evolution, but one of profound, ancient, and perhaps ongoing external intervention. If physical artifacts and ancient constructions offer tangible hints of an advanced past, then the universal creation myths and legends passed down through countless generations provide an even more intimate, albeit symbolic, record. Across continents and cultures, from the earliest human settlements to the great empires, humanity has woven narratives of its own genesis. While diverse in their cultural specifics, a striking commonality echoes through many of these stories: the arrival of beings from the sky, divine figures or gods who imparted knowledge, civilized humanity, or even directly participated in its creation. These are the whispers from the past, a collective ancestral memory that, to some, points not to allegorical deities, but to forgotten paleocontacts. From the ancient Sumerians, whose cuneiform tablets represent some of the earliest written records, we encounter the Anunnaki. These powerful beings, depicted as descending from the heavens, are described not merely as spiritual entities, but as physical beings who arrived on Earth, established cities, taught humanity agriculture, writing and metallurgy, and even intervened in human affairs, including genetic manipulation. The Sumerian king list mentions kings reigning for impossibly long periods before the Great Flood, suggesting a different order of beings or a different understanding of time, and places their origin from heaven. The story of Enki, a prominent Anunnaki figure, is particularly compelling, as he's often depicted as the creator or modifier of humanity, shaping us from primordial clay and divine essence. Echoing themes found thousands of years later in other cultures. Across the globe, in the Fertile Crescent, the Abrahamic traditions speak of creation, where God forms Adam from dust and breathes life into him, crafting humanity in his own image. While typically interpreted metaphorically, the concept of a singular, powerful entity directly shaping the first human bears a striking resemblance to the idea of genetic engineering by an advanced intelligence. The sons of God, who intermingle with the daughters of men in biblical texts, are often interpreted as fallen angels, but to paleocontact theorists, this could describe interaction between extraterrestrial visitors and early human populations, potentially leading to offspring, or the transfer of genetic material. Journey to ancient Egypt, where the pantheon of gods such as Ra, Osiris, and Isis are often portrayed as wise rulers who brought civilization, laws, and advanced skills to humanity. Many hieroglyphs and temple carvings depict these deities with elongated skulls, unusual features, or technologically advanced artifacts that seem out of place within an ancient Egyptian context. The concept of Zep Tepi, the first time, describes a golden age when gods lived among men, directly ruling and guiding them, laying the foundations for Egyptian society. This narrative of direct divine intervention and instruction is a powerful echo of the Paleocontact hypothesis, suggesting that the gods were not merely spiritual, but tangible beings who profoundly influenced early human development. In the Indian subcontinent, the ancient Vedic texts and Puranas speak of Vimanas, flying machines used by the devas and asuras, beings who waged wars and travelled between stars. These intricate descriptions of aerial vehicles, sometimes fueled by Mercury vortex engines, are surprisingly detailed for texts dating back millennia. The tales of advanced weaponry, devastating battles and intervention in human events by celestial beings, such as those found in the Mahabharata and Ramayana, are often seen as mythological embellishments. Yet, their consistency with a technological understanding far beyond the Bronze Age prompts questions about their origin. Could these not be allegories, but historical recollections, filtered through the lens of early human understanding of an advanced alien presence? The Mesoamerican cultures, including the Maya, Aztec, and Inca, share a rich tapestry of myths involving feathered serpents like Quetzalcoatl, often described as light-skinned, bearded beings who arrive from the sky, bringing knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and agriculture, and promising to return. These deities are consistently associated with the heavens and with civilizing humanity, teaching them the arts of sophisticated societal organization. The precision of Mayan astronomy and calendars, their knowledge of complex cycles, seems almost too exact for a civilization without advanced instruments, leading some to wonder if this wisdom was gifted by their celestial visitors. The Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the Quiché Maya, details multiple attempts by the gods to create humanity, experimenting with different materials until they achieved a satisfactory intelligent being, a narrative that resonates strongly with the idea of genetic trial and error. Even indigenous cultures in Australia and Africa, long isolated, possess dreamtime stories and ancestral legends that speak of sky people descending to Earth, interacting with ancestors, and bestowing knowledge or shaping the landscape. These diverse narratives, separated by vast geographies and independent cultural development, present a remarkable convergence of themes. The common thread is a profound external influence on humanity's development, a first contact that shaped our very being and set us on a path to intelligence. The sheer universality of these creation by outsiders narratives, their consistent portrayal of sky beings as instructors, civilizers, and even genetic architects is difficult to dismiss as mere coincidence. While critics argue these are universal archetypes or natural human attempts to explain the unknown, the specific details, advanced knowledge, technological descriptions, and direct intervention offer a tantalizing alternative. To paleocontact theorists, these aren't just myths. They are fragmented historical accounts, passed down orally and then codified, of a time when our ancestors literally walked with gods from the stars. They are the echoes of a profound encounter, a foundational event that shaped not only our cultures, but perhaps our very essence, serving as cultural evidence for the possibility of engineered humanity. These ancient whispers collectively suggest that the spark of human intelligence might have been ignited by a cosmic fire, tended by hands that descended from the heavens, having traversed the anomalies in our fossil record, the startling acceleration of our cognitive development, the subtle whispers in our genetic code, and the persistent echoes in ancient myths. We now arrive at the central, most audacious proposition of this documentary, the intervention hypothesis, specifically the paleocontact theory of alien genetic engineering. This theory dares to suggest that humanity's intelligence is not solely the product of undirected natural selection on Earth, but rather the deliberate, purposeful creation of a higher, extraterrestrial power that directly manipulated our DNA to fashion an intelligent species. The conventional scientific consensus, built upon Darwinian principles, asserts that human intelligence emerged gradually through random mutations and natural selection, driven by environmental pressures. However, as we have explored, this narrative faces significant challenges: the missing links in the fossil record, the inexplicable speed of our brain's expansion, and the sudden appearance of complex cognitive traits. These discontinuities are precisely where the paleocontact theory finds its leverage, proposing that these gaps are not merely unresolved puzzles, but signatures of external design. The core idea is simple yet revolutionary: an advanced alien civilization, for reasons we can only speculate upon, visited Earth at a critical juncture in hominid evolution. Observing our primate ancestors, they identified a species with potential, a bipedal hominid with rudimentary tool-making abilities perhaps, but lacking the cognitive spark necessary for true intelligence. Instead of waiting for millions of years of random chance, these extraterrestrial architects decided to accelerate the process to engineer intelligence directly. How would such an intervention work? Modern genetic science offers a blueprint for what was once considered pure fantasy. We now understand DNA as the instruction manual of life, a code that can be read, edited, and rewritten. Techniques like CRISPR-Cas9 allow us to precisely target and modify specific genes, inserting new sequences, deleting old ones, or activating dormant sections. Imagine a civilization thousands or millions of years ahead of us, possessing a mastery of genetic engineering far beyond our current capabilities. For them, altering the genome of a developing species might be as routine as selective breeding is for us. The intervention could have taken several forms. One possibility is the direct insertion of new, complex genetic sequences responsible for advanced cognitive functions. This would explain the sudden appearance of unique human genes, or the rapid mutation rates observed in human accelerated regions, HARs, which are so critical for brain development. These changes wouldn't be random. They would be precisely targeted, like a programmer inserting a new module into an existing software code, instantly upgrading its capabilities. This would bypass the slow, trial-and-error process of natural selection for such complex traits. Another scenario involves the activation of dormant or suppressed genes already present in our ancestors' genome. Evolution is known to leave behind junk DNA, vast stretches of non-coding material that might contain latent genetic potential. An advanced intelligence could have identified and activated these hidden sequences, unlocking a pre-existing blueprint for higher intelligence that was merely waiting for the right trigger. This would explain the rapid, almost instantaneous blooming of cognitive abilities without the need for entirely new genetic material to evolve from scratch. Furthermore, the process might have involved hybridization, the deliberate crossbreeding of early hominids with the genetic material of the alien visitors themselves, or with other genetically modified organisms. This genetic infusion could have introduced entirely new genes or significantly upgraded existing ones, rapidly diversifying the gene pool and providing the raw material for rapid cognitive leaps. Certain ancient myths, particularly those speaking of sons of gods, mating with daughters of men, could be interpreted as symbolic recollections of such a hybridization event. The timing of this intervention is critical. The period around 2 million years ago, coinciding with the rapid encephalization observed in the Homo lineage and the subsequent cognitive explosion a few 100,000 years ago, would have been opportune. A small, isolated population of hominids could have been targeted, their genetic makeup altered, and then allowed to propagate, with the modified genes quickly spreading through subsequent generations. This explains the genetic bottlenecks identified by mitochondrial Eve and Y-chromosomal Adam theories, not as purely natural population crashes, but as a deliberate seeding event. The Paleocontact Theory, therefore, doesn't necessarily discard evolution entirely. Instead, it frames it as a process that was given a powerful external nudge. It suggests that while natural selection continued to refine human traits, the initial spark of our advanced intelligence, the foundational upgrade to our cognitive hardware, originated from outside our planetary system. It transforms humanity from a terrestrial accident into a cosmic experiment, a meticulously crafted project designed by beings with a profound understanding of life and genetics. This hypothesis is, of course, highly speculative and lacks direct, undeniable empirical proof that mainstream science demands. However, its proponents argue that the collective weight of the unexplained anomalies, the missing links, the cognitive acceleration, the genetic peculiarities, and the universal myths forms a circumstantial case compelling enough to warrant serious consideration. It offers a unifying explanation for phenomena that otherwise strain the boundaries of conventional evolutionary thought. It implies that the profound question of who are we might have an answer rooted not in randomness, but in a deliberate act of creation, a legacy left by extraterrestrial engineers who sculpted us into the intelligent beings we are today. This profound re-evaluation of our origins challenges us to look beyond Earth for the ultimate truth of our existence. If we accept the audacious premise of the intervention hypothesis, that humanity's intelligence was engineered by an alien hand, then the next, most profound questions become, what were their motives, and what methods did these cosmic architects employ? Unraveling the architects of consciousness takes us from the realm of genetic science into the boundless expanse of philosophical speculation, yet grounded in what we know of advanced civilizations and the very nature of intelligence itself. Let's first consider the potential motivations. Why would a highly advanced extraterrestrial civilization choose to intervene in the evolution of a nascent species on a distant, developing world? The possibilities are as varied as they are thought-provoking, each reflecting a different facet of what intelligence itself might value. One compelling motive could be pure scientific experimentation. For a species that has mastered interstellar travel and genetic engineering, Earth could have been viewed as a vast living laboratory. Our primate ancestors might have presented a fascinating canvas for genetic modification, a chance to observe the emergence of complex intelligence from a simpler biological form. Perhaps they were studying the variables of consciousness, the optimal conditions for its spontaneous generation, or the effects of targeted genetic boosts. From this perspective, humanity is an elaborate long-term scientific project, a cosmic petri dish whose evolution is being meticulously monitored. Our struggles, our triumphs, our very existence become data points in an alien research program. Another possibility is a seeding or gardening mission. Perhaps these aliens were not just scientists but cosmic gardeners, seeding life and intelligence across the galaxy to promote biodiversity or even to establish a network of interconnected consciousnesses. They might have a galactic directive to foster intelligent life in suitable environments, seeing themselves as custodians of the cosmos. In this scenario, their intervention was an act of benevolence, a gift of intellect designed to uplift a promising species. They might have seen potential in our ancestors that natural selection alone wouldn't cultivate efficiently enough, deciding to give us a shortcut to intelligence, a genetic jumpstart to prevent us from becoming another evolutionary dead end. Conversely, the motive could have been far more utilitarian or even self-serving. Perhaps these aliens required a slave race, a workforce to mine resources, construct planetary infrastructure, or serve other purposes. Ancient myths, particularly those of the Sumerians describing the Anunnaki creating humanity to labor in their gold mines, resonate with this darker interpretation. If our genetic modifications were designed to make us intelligent enough to follow complex commands, yet subservient enough not to challenge our creators, then our very purpose could be rooted in an ancient form of cosmic exploitation. Our remarkable capacity for cooperation and our inherent tendency to form hierarchical structures might be lingering traits from this original, engineered design. A more dramatic possibility points to a rescue or reboot scenario. What if our hominid ancestors were facing an evolutionary bottleneck, a genetic dead end, or an impending environmental catastrophe that threatened their very existence? The alien architects might have intervened to save them, not by physical rescue, but by upgrading their capacity for adaptation and problem-solving. By boosting their intelligence, they essentially gave them the tools to survive and thrive on their own, setting them on a new, more promising evolutionary trajectory. This would be a form of cosmic philanthropy, a non-interventionist intervention designed to empower rather than control. Now, let's turn to the methods. What specific technologies might such an advanced civilization have employed to achieve genetic engineering on a planetary scale? Or at least across a foundational population? Their primary tool would undoubtedly be advanced molecular biology. Far beyond our current CRISPR technology, these beings would possess the ability to precisely map, edit and synthesize DNA with absolute control and foresight. They could have identified key regulatory genes and protein coding sequences in our hominid ancestors that, when modified, would trigger the cascade of changes leading to increased brain size, enhanced neural connectivity, and the emergence of abstract thought. This isn't just about changing a single gene, it's about understanding and manipulating entire genetic networks. This could involve direct genomic editing, where alien bioengineers physically altered the DNA within gametes or early embryonic cells of a select group of hominids. Imagine tiny, self-assembling nanobots, microscopic machines capable of navigating cellular structures, precisely cutting and pasting genetic material with atomic-level accuracy. These nanobots could have been deployed through aerosols, or even introduced directly into a foundational population, quietly rewriting the evolutionary script from within. Alternatively, the method might have been viral vector delivery. Viruses are nature's most efficient genetic delivery systems, an alien civilization could have engineered a benevolent virus, loaded with the desired genetic modifications, and released it into the hominid population. This virus would then integrate the new genetic material into the host cells, passing on the enhanced traits to subsequent generations. Such a method would be subtle, self-replicating, and highly effective for spreading genetic changes across a species over time, mimicking natural viral transmission. Furthermore, they might have utilized directed mutagenesis or epigenetics. Rather than directly rewriting the code, they could have introduced environmental factors or chemical agents that specifically influenced mutation rates in targeted genomic regions, or altered gene expression without changing the underlying DNA sequence. This could explain the rapid bursts of evolution in HARs and other critical areas, creating a highly specific evolutionary pressure that pushed the genome towards intelligence, almost like a carefully tuned biological accelerator. The physical implementation of such a project would require a sophisticated scientific outpost. This could have been a hidden base on Earth, perhaps in a remote, then uninhabited region, or even an orbiting laboratory from which they monitored and conducted their genetic experiments. The ancient texts describing gods descending in chariots of fire or flying cities could be folk memories of advanced spacecraft or aerial platforms used for observation and intervention. The sheer audacity of these methods, the deliberate crafting of consciousness, the re-engineering of a species from its genetic roots, paints a picture of an alien civilization operating on a scale and with a foresight that we are only beginning to comprehend. Their motives, whether benevolent, scientific or self-serving, would have reshaped the course of life on Earth forever, turning us into their engineered humanity. And if this is true, then our very minds, our capacity for wonder and inquiry, are not just gifts from nature, but a legacy from the stars, a testament to the architects who designed us. This deepens the mystery and simultaneously provides a potential explanation for the profound questions surrounding humanity's unique and rapid rise to intelligence. If humanity truly is an engineered species, a project undertaken by extraterrestrial architects, then the implications extend far beyond our past. They reach into our present, subtly influencing our capabilities and perhaps even charting the course of our future. This brings us to the intriguing concept of echoes of the blueprint, the idea that our DNA might still contain latent abilities or unused genetic potential, residual code from our alien creators, hinting at untapped capacities or a pre-programmed destiny. Think of our genome not just as a historical record, but as a complex software program. If it was indeed designed or modified, it stands to reason that the creators might have included features or functions that were not immediately necessary for survival on primordial Earth, but were intended for later activation, or perhaps as fail-safes. These could manifest as genetic predispositions for certain types of intelligence, untapped sensory perceptions, or even unusual physiological traits that periodically surface in the human population. One area of fascination is the vast expanse of what we once dismissively called junk DNA, the approximately 98% of our genome that does not code for proteins. While much of this non-coding DNA has since been found to play crucial regulatory roles, a significant portion still remains enigmatic, its purpose unclear. To paleocontact theorists, this non-coding DNA could be more than just evolutionary detritus or regulatory switches. It might contain dormant sequences, hidden algorithms, or even encrypted instructions from our alien engineers. These latent codes could represent an unfinished project, a future upgrade, or simply information waiting for the right environmental or internal trigger to become active. Consider the extraordinary abilities that occasionally appear in humans, often labelled as savant syndrome or prodigious talents. Individuals who can instantly calculate complex mathematical equations, recall entire books from memory, or create intricate artistic masterpieces with no formal training. While rare, these abilities suggest an underlying cognitive architecture capable of remarkable feats, almost as if tapping into a deeper, more efficient processing system. Could these be spontaneous partial activations of a latent genetic blueprint, momentary glimpses into the full potential encoded within us by our alien designers? Perhaps these individuals, in their unique brilliance, are inadvertently accessing segments of the original engineered code that most of humanity has yet to unlock. Beyond these rare cognitive gifts, there are also anecdotal accounts and speculative theories about untapped human sensory perceptions or psionic abilities, telepathy, precognition, remote viewing, phenomena largely dismissed by mainstream science, are sometimes re-examined through the lens of an engineered origin. If our creators possessed advanced communication or sensory capabilities, it's conceivable they might have embedded the genetic potential for such traits within us, perhaps in a rudimentary or dormant form. Over millennia, these traits might have been largely suppressed by natural selection, as they provided no immediate survival advantage in a purely terrestrial environment, or perhaps they were deliberately deactivated by the creators themselves after the initial intervention. The human immune system, for example, is incredibly complex and adaptable, capable of recognizing and fighting off an astonishing array of pathogens. Some theories suggest that its sophistication might be a legacy of alien genetic manipulation, preparing us for a wider range of cosmic biological challenges, not just earthbound ones. Our creators, having travelled between stars, would possess an intimate understanding of interstellar pathogens and might have pre-programmed our defences against threats we have yet to encounter. Another intriguing aspect is the concept of epigenetic tags, modifications to DNA that affect gene expression without altering the underlying genetic sequence. These tags can be influenced by environmental factors and even passed down through generations. If alien architects initially engineered our DNA, they might also have left behind epigenetic switches that could be activated or deactivated by specific stimuli, perhaps even by our own collective consciousness or technological advancement. This could imply a form of ongoing, subtle guidance, where our own actions or discoveries trigger the next phase of our engineered evolution. Furthermore, the very drive for exploration, for reaching beyond our planet, for seeking out other intelligences, could itself be an echo of the blueprint. If we were created by interstellar travellers, then the innate human longing for the stars might not be a mere romantic impulse, but a deep-seated, genetically encoded directive, a homing signal embedded in our collective psyche, urging us to return to the cosmic stage from which our origins sprang. Our insatiable curiosity, our relentless pursuit of knowledge, our need to understand the universe and our place within it, might be the most powerful legacy of our alien designers, guiding us towards an ultimate purpose. The idea of unused potential is a powerful one. It suggests that humanity is still a work in progress, that the full extent of our engineered capabilities has yet to be realized. This perspective transforms our future not just into a path of self-determination, but into a journey of self-discovery, of unlocking the hidden layers of our own genetic heritage. If these echoes of a cosmic blueprint truly exist, then our future may hold the key to activating these latent abilities, pushing humanity beyond its current biological and cognitive limits, and perhaps finally revealing the true grand design of our alien creators. We may be living repositories of an ancient alien intelligence, waiting for the right moment to awaken the full spectrum of our engineered consciousness. The Paleocontact Theory, with its vision of alien genetic engineering, is more than just a scientific hypothesis. It is an existential reckoning. If humanity's intelligence is a product of cosmic design, not solely terrestrial chance, then the foundations of our self-perception, our religious beliefs, and our scientific frameworks are profoundly shaken. The question, who are we if not our own, forces us to confront a fundamental shift in our understanding of identity, purpose, and our place in the infinite cosmos. For millennia, humanity has grappled with the question of its origins. Religious traditions across the globe offer narratives of divine creation, placing humanity as a special, often divinely favoured species. These stories imbue human life with inherent meaning and purpose, often linked to a creator god or gods. The scientific paradigm conversely offers the elegant yet humbling story of evolution by natural selection. Humanity as the fortuitous outcome of billions of years of random mutations and environmental pressures, a highly complex but ultimately accidental branch on the tree of life. Both narratives, in their own ways, provide a coherent framework for understanding our unique position on Earth. However, the Paleocontact Theory shatters these established frameworks. It introduces a third, hybrid narrative that is both profoundly spiritual and intensely scientific, yet radically different from either. If our intelligence was engineered, we are neither solely the creation of an omnipotent singular deity, nor merely the product of blind, indifferent natural forces. Instead, we become the deliberate creation of advanced yet still finite, biological or technological entities. This doesn't necessarily diminish our value, but it fundamentally alters our understanding of our specialness. We might still be unique, but our uniqueness would be by design, a product of someone else's intent. The philosophical implications are vast. What does it mean to possess free will if our fundamental intellectual capacity was initially programmed? Are our inherent drives, our curiosity, our capacity for empathy, our aggressive tendencies, all part of an alien blueprint? The very concept of human autonomy is challenged. Are we truly self-made beings, or are we, in some profound sense, a living artifact, a tool, or an experiment of an ancient cosmic civilization? This perspective transforms our self-identity from being of Earth to being on Earth, a product with a provenance far beyond our home planet. Religiously, the Paleocontact Theory presents a significant paradigm shift. Many creation myths speak of gods who created man in their own image. If these gods were extraterrestrial beings, then the concept of a divine creator becomes far more concrete, perhaps even biological. It could offer a scientific explanation for religious texts, reinterpreting ancient scriptures as historical records of contact rather than purely metaphysical narratives. This would not necessarily negate spirituality, but it would redefine the nature of the divine, bringing it into the realm of advanced science. The awe we feel for a creator might shift from an abstract supreme being to an incredibly advanced, tangible species, making the universe feel both smaller and more populated. Scientifically, the implications are equally profound. If our evolution was guided, it forces a re-evaluation of the entire fossil record, challenging the presumed linearity and independence of our development. It suggests that our missing links are not just missing, but perhaps never existed in a purely terrestrial evolutionary sense. Our biology becomes a field for alien archaeology, where our genes are the artifacts waiting to be deciphered for the fingerprints of our creators. It would transform the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI, from a quest for distant signals to an intimate investigation of our own biological heritage. The greatest discovery of alien life might not be found among the stars, but within ourselves. The very concept of human purpose would be thrown into question. Were we created for a specific function? Are we still under observation? Our progress monitored by our alien progenitors? If our intelligence was engineered, it implies an intent, a reason for our creation. Discovering that reason could be either liberating or profoundly unsettling. It could provide a clear mission, a cosmic imperative, or it could reveal that our purpose was far less grand than we imagined, perhaps as simple as a resource-gathering tool or a biological data collection unit. This would force a collective existential crisis, a species grappling with the revelation that its most cherished beliefs about self-origin were fundamentally mistaken. Furthermore, if alien genetic engineering is possible and has occurred on Earth, it implies a universe teeming with intelligent life, not just as isolated phenomena, but as active participants in the cosmic ecosystem, shaping and guiding life on other worlds. The Fermi paradox, the question of where is everyone, gains a new, darker answer. Perhaps they're here and have been all along guiding humanity from behind the scenes, or perhaps they've moved on, leaving us to inherit a world they started. The emotional impact of such a revelation would be immense, a sense of awe and wonder, mixed with potential feelings of betrayal, insignificance, or even existential dread. The idea that our entire history has unfolded under a hidden alien influence could be both thrilling and terrifying. It would force a global conversation about who we are, where we came from, and what our true place is in a universe now revealed to be far more complex and active than we previously conceived. Ultimately, is not just academic. It challenges the very core of what it means to be human. It asks us to shed our anthropocentric biases and confront the possibility that our greatest strength, our intelligence, is a borrowed light, a gift from the stars, making us simultaneously more connected to the cosmos and less masters of our own destiny. This reckoning would rewrite every textbook, every sacred text, and every personal narrative, urging humanity to look inward for the answers to questions that began among the stars. It is the ultimate test of our intellectual maturity, to accept a truth that might make us feel both profound and at the same time profoundly designed. If humanity is an engineered species, then the story of our origins is not a closed book, but an unfinished project. This realization propels us from contemplating our past to re-evaluating our future. The question of humanity's cosmic future becomes profoundly complex. Are we still under observation by our cosmic creators? Could they return? And what does this extraordinary origin story mean for our quest for interstellar contact, our own evolutionary path, and our ultimate destiny among the stars? Imagine the sheer foresight of an intelligence capable of orchestrating a genetic intervention millions of years ago. Such beings would not simply abandon their creation. It stands to reason that they would continue to monitor their project, perhaps from a discrete distance, observing our development, our conflicts, our triumphs, and our increasing technological prowess. Our planet, then, is not merely a vibrant biosphere, but a long-term experiment in cosmic evolution, meticulously tracked from afar. The zoo hypothesis, often proposed as a solution to the Fermi paradox, gains a new layer of meaning. We might be in a cosmic preserve, not just for our protection, but because we are an active, fascinating study subject. The possibility of our creators returning, or making themselves known, looms large. If their intervention was a deliberate act of seeding or genetic upgrade, perhaps there is a predetermined activation point, a stage of technological or social development at which contact is intended. This could be when we master interstellar travel ourselves, develop true artificial intelligence, or achieve a certain level of global unity and wisdom. Our relentless drive to reach the stars, to send probes, to broadcast signals, might not be solely our own curiosity, but an unconsciously programmed directive to signal completion, or call home. The very pursuit of SETI could be part of an ancient alien-engineered plan. What would such a reunion entail? Would they reveal themselves as benevolent guides, offering a new era of cosmic knowledge and technological advancement? Or would they arrive as detached overseers, assessing the success or failure of their genetic experiment? Perhaps even ready to reset or refine us if we deviate too far from their original intent. The implications for our sovereignty and self-determination would be immense. We might be forced to confront our designation as a created species, with our very existence owing to an external will. This could strip away centuries of human-centric philosophy and rewrite our sense of purpose on a galactic scale. This engineered origin also casts a new light on our own evolutionary path. If our intelligence was a directed leap, are we still evolving naturally, or are there dormant genetic programs waiting to be activated? The echoes of the blueprint we discussed earlier might not just be latent abilities but pre-programmed evolutionary trajectories. Humanity's future could involve a predestined path towards transhumanism, digital consciousness, or even a biological merge with advanced technology, all potentially encoded within our initial design. Our destiny might not be entirely self-written, but influenced by the cosmic architects who set us on this course. Consider the ethical responsibilities such a revelation would impose. If we are the product of genetic engineering, what moral obligations do we have to our creators? What would this mean for our own burgeoning abilities in genetic modification and artificial intelligence? The Frankenstein complex, the fear of creations turning against their creators, could take on a terrifyingly personal dimension, forcing us to grapple with the ethics of our own potential to engineer other species, mirroring the very act that may have brought us into being. The search for other intelligent life in the cosmos also takes on a different hue. If our civilization was kick-started by external intervention, it suggests that such acts might be common. The universe might not be a barren expanse where intelligence struggles to emerge, but a vast, cultivated garden with various species nurtured and guided by ancient cosmic civilizations. The great silence of the Fermi paradox might not be due to a lack of life, but a policy of non-interference or discrete observation by these galactic gardeners. Our contact with other species, then, might involve not just discovering them, but recognizing them as fellow projects or creations of the same or different alien architects. Ultimately, understanding ourselves as an unfinished project can be both humbling and empowering. It forces us to reconsider our place from the apex predator of a single planet to a potentially nurtured or even cultivated seedling in a vast cosmic landscape. Our future becomes a narrative of unfolding potential, where the choices we make about our technology, our ethics, our interactions with the universe will determine whether we fulfill the grand design of our creators, transcend it, or tragically fail their ancient expectations. The quest for our cosmic future, therefore, is intimately tied to the question of our true origin. Are we destined to join a galactic community, perhaps even reunite with our creators, or are we set on a path of self-discovery, gradually activating the full extent of our engineered potential? The journey has just begun, and the greatest revelations about who we are and who made us may still lie ahead, etched not just in the stars, but in the very essence of our evolving humanity. The future of an engineered species is not a simple linear progression, but a profound unveiling of a hidden blueprint, a cosmic inheritance waiting to be fully realized. We embarked on a journey not across the stars, but into the very heart of what it means to be human. We began by challenging the comfortable narrative of our origins, questioning whether the story etched in our textbooks tells the complete truth of our ascent. From the earliest hominids to the dawn of modern Homo sapiens, the conventional evolutionary timeline presents an elegant, albeit slow, unfolding of life. Yet, as we delved deeper, anomalies emerged, cracks in the bedrock of accepted wisdom that whisper of a more complex, perhaps engineered, beginning. We first confronted the unseen chasm in the fossil record, where crucial transitional forms that should painstakingly bridge the gap from proto-ape to intelligent human remain stubbornly elusive. The expected slow, methodical accumulation of adaptive traits, so characteristic of terrestrial evolution, seem to falter precisely at the most pivotal moments of our cognitive development. This absence isn't just a lack of evidence, it's a profound silence that demands explanation, implying a narrative jump rather than a gradual climb. It sets the stage for a story where missing pieces are not lost, but never were. Then came the cognitive leap, an unnatural acceleration that saw the human brain triple in size and complexity within an evolutionary blink, a speed and scale unparalleled in the animal kingdom. This explosive encephalization, with its immense biological costs and inherent risks, defies conventional selective pressures, suggesting an internal blueprint that was rapidly optimized, almost as if a pre-existing design was suddenly brought to full fruition. This wasn't merely evolution at a faster pace. It was a qualitative transformation that appeared to bypass millennia of incremental change. The examination of our own genetic code, the genetic anomaly hidden within our DNA, offered the most intimate and unsettling clues. Unique human genes, like the critical FOXP2 variant, and the startling rapid changes within human accelerated regions, HRs, that govern brain development, stand out as statistically improbable bursts of beneficial mutation. These whispers in the code hint at a targeted intervention, a precise genetic remodeling that introduced complex instructions or activated dormant potential, guiding our biology towards intelligence with a deliberate hand. It suggests our genome might not be solely a product of random chance, but a masterpiece of biological engineering. Our expedition then led us to the ancient wonders of Earth, enigmatic archaeological sites like Puma Punku, with its impossibly precise stonework, the astronomically aligned pyramids of Giza, built with a knowledge that seems to transcend their era, and the vast aerial Nazca lines, seemingly designed for observation from a vantage point unavailable to their creators. These technologies beyond their time are not mere curiosities, they are evidentiary exhibits that challenge our understanding of ancient human capabilities, prompting the question of whether advanced knowledge or even direct technological assistance was provided by an external source. The whispers from the past echoed from universal creation myths, from the Sumerian Anunnaki to the Mesoamerican feathered serpents. Across diverse cultures, these legends consistently describe sky gods or beings from other worlds descending to Earth, imparting knowledge, teaching civilization, and even genetically shaping humanity in their image. These aren't just allegories. To paleocontact theorists, they are collective ancestral memories, filtered through oral traditions and early writing, of a foundational interaction that sparked our intelligence and set us on our unique path. All these threads converge on the intervention hypothesis, the radical proposal to create an intelligent species. This alien genetic engineering represents a direct challenge to the idea of an exclusively terrestrial, undirected evolution, We explored the potential architects of consciousness, delving into their possible motives, scientific experimentation, cosmic seeding, utilitarian need for a workforce, or even a rescue mission, and speculated on the sophisticated methods they might have employed, from direct genomic editing by nanobots to advanced viral vector delivery or epigenetic manipulation. The sheer scale of such an endeavour speaks to an intelligence far beyond our current comprehension. The journey continued into the echoes of the blueprint, suggesting that our DNA might still harbour latent abilities or unused potential, residual code from our alien creators. The extraordinary talents of savants, the tantalising hints of untapped sensory perceptions, and even our innate drive for exploration could be programmed directives, waiting for the right moment or trigger to activate. This implies humanity as an unfinished project, continuously evolving towards a grand design, with our future perhaps pre-charted by an ancient cosmic hand. This intellectual odyssey culminated in an existential reckoning. Who are we, if not our own? The revelation of alien engineering profoundly challenges our self-perception, our religious frameworks, and our scientific understanding. It transforms us from accidental marvels into deliberate creations, shifting our purpose from self-determined to potentially preordained. This is not about diminishing humanity, but about redefining its place in a universe that is far more active, interconnected, and potentially populated than we ever dared to imagine. Our identity, our free will, and our spiritual beliefs all stand at the precipice of a cosmic redefinition. Finally, we look to humanity's cosmic future as an unfinished project. If we were engineered, are we still under observation? Could our creators return, initiating a reunion that would forever alter our species? This suggests that our drive to reach the stars, our relentless curiosity, might be a programmed homing signal, guiding us back to our cosmic origins. Our future evolution, then, will determine whether we fulfill the ancient blueprint, transcend it, or tragically deviate from our intended path. The intellectual journey we have undertaken compels us to confront a profound question that reverberated through our introduction. What if everything we thought we knew about our origins is fundamentally incomplete? The persistent gaps in the fossil record, the astonishing speed of our cognitive evolution, the unique anomalies in our very genes, and the echoes of sky beings in ancient myths collectively suggest that the official theory of evolution, while powerful, might not be the full story of humanity. It forces us to consider that the spark of our unique intellect, the very essence of our consciousness, was not entirely our own making, but a deliberate gift, or perhaps an intervention, from a higher alien power. This realization doesn't diminish the wonder of human existence. It amplifies it to a cosmic scale. It transforms us from a rare terrestrial fluke into a potential masterpiece of interstellar design. The most vital missing link might not be a bone in the ground, but a forgotten chapter in our history, a memory of our true creators encoded deep within our collective unconscious. It challenges us to expand our understanding of life, intelligence, and creation beyond the confines of our planet, urging us to look with new eyes at both the ancient past and the boundless future. So, as we conclude this exploration, we are left not with simple answers, but with deeper, more awe-inspiring questions. If humanity was indeed engineered, what grand purpose did our architects envision for us? Are we still on their trajectory, or have we, through our own burgeoning intelligence, begun to write a new, independent destiny? The quest for our true origin is not just an archaeological or genetic puzzle. It is an enduring philosophical journey that invites us to continuously re-evaluate our place in the universe. We stand at the precipice of knowing that our story might be far more extraordinary, far more cosmic than we ever dared to imagine. The universe remains vast and mysterious, but the greatest mystery of all might just be ourselves, a species born of Earth, but perhaps engineered by the stars.